Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to 5 Minutes of Torah with the Beth Israel Rabbi. This coming Shabbat, we read Parshat Noach. Parshat Noach is a famous Torah portion as God reconstructs the world after flooding it and essentially reworks creation for a second time because God is not happy with the first creation. One of the first things that the Torah tells us is that the world was tishachet lifnei Hashem, that the world was full of corruption in front of God. And the rabbis try to understand what exactly this means. And in fact, we also know that the world was full with Hamas, with the absolute worst of violence that could possibly have happened. And what does it mean, corruption? Rashi explains that this could either mean idol worship or lewdness. And Ibn Ezra explains that this was done befarhesia, that it was done in the public eye. I would suggest that for us today, idol worship, especially in North America, is not a concern. But what does lewdness mean? It could really, from my perspective, take on two possible meanings. One is it could be the way people dress, or number two is it could be the way people act. And let's take a look for a second at this idea of the way people dress. It's the opposite of lewd dress. It would be modest dress, it would be snoot dress, it would be conservative dress. And that reminds me of one of the most fascinating pictures I've ever seen in my life. I have a picture of my late grandfather from about 1931, 32, in his hometown of Zweibrücken, Germany. He's walking in the streets, and not only he, but everyone in the streets of this town were dressed in a jacket and tie, or if they were a woman, in a very nice, elegant dress. And it was just a normal day. This is how they walked around at the time period in this particular place. One might assume that this is the height of civilization in both time and place. But this was the early 1930s in Zweibrücken, Germany. This was literally the birthplace of the Holocaust. This was a place that was already even before the Nazis came to power, under Nazi influence. This was a place in which anti-Semitism was already rampant, in which people hated others simply because of who they were. This was not the pinnacle of civilization, despite the way people dressed. This particular place and that particular time period was the absolute opposite. It was the seed of hell. So, can we suggest that dress is something that influences a society? Maybe, but we certainly can't define it by that. And what about lewd behavior? Certainly, lewd behavior is highly inappropriate and not something that we want to see befarhesia in public. But is that also something that defines a society that would lead it to its destruction? I'm not really sure. But what I would suggest is really, really problematic, far worse than just lewd behavior, is lewd behavior that is abusive, that controls other people, that takes advantage of others. That is the real problem that I believe that we face in society today. Both farhesia, both in public, and beseter, behind closed doors as well. And when I say that, I think of a major issue that's come to light with the issue of Weinstein in Hollywood right now. This particular issue, this particular case, of course, is the Inyan Dioma with Harvey Weinstein. This is the case that we're not only talking about, but that we should be talking about. The way one particular individual has abused other people. That is the issue. That is what is destructive and coercive in a society. And that is the thing that I think that we really need to take to heart today and really be concerned about. And a message that we can read out of and into this week's Torah portion, both in terms of corruption and violence. As Jews, we seek holiness in this world, and that is the exact opposite of holiness. I want to encourage you to join me this coming Wednesday as we mark our very first lunch and learn of the year with a free lunch, free learning. Please sign up, because it's going to be a fascinating discussion, learning the Jewish texts and the Jewish issues around the Harvey Weinstein case and what it means to us and how we can do the opposite, how we can bring Kedusha, how we can bring holiness into this world. Shabbat Shalom.